For the fifth time in a row, your Chicago Blackhawks lose. This time in overtime to the Colorado Avalanche. I should be mad, but the way the Hawks performed in this game was probably their best performance in about a month, because how they fought back and battled to try and force this game. They managed to tie it, they managed to take the lead, but they could not beat the Avalanche in overtime, as Colorado's just outskated and outperformed the Hawks in the overtime. The Hawks couldn't get the break in. Taves nearly had a winner in overtime, but we could not get the victory. This game, in the first period, the Hawks looked dead. They looked like they were in the last two games where they were playing the Predators and the Flames. It was not a good look for the Hawks. How bad they were in that first period. Derek King must have said something in the intermission between the first and second period, because it was a whole different team. The Hawks battled in the second and battled in the third, but could not prevail in the overtime. This team had a battling for themselves to come back and try and play well against a Stanley Cup favorite in the Colorado Avalanche. This was a rough loss by the Hawks, but they managed to show a resiliency they have not shown yet in the second half of the season, which started basically on New Year's Day, as they lose it 4-3 in overtime to the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche defense is a goal-scoring, lethal defense. They have the most goals scored in the league by the defense, and they also have most goals per game. And they continue that tonight. But the Hawks, being one of the worst offensively, they managed to battle and tie and have a lead at one point in this game. They just could not get that fourth goal of the night. So, shots on net, it started out very bad. 14-5 in favor for the Avalanche in the first period. 7-17 in favor for your Chicago Blackhawks in the second period. 9-8 in favor for the Avalanche in the third. And in overtime, 3-1 in favor for the Avalanche. Total shots on net, 33-31. As I said, the Hawks were dead and awful in the first period, and it was showing for the entire period. But after that, they were a whole new team, and they battled. That was something I would like to see more often. A resiliency to come back. They haven't done that much this year. They managed to show it tonight, which is nice to see, but they lose again. It makes it tough to watch this team, how many times they keep losing. But they get a point, but it doesn't matter. They, right now, aren't going to make the playoffs because how badly ran this team was at the beginning of the year due to Jeremy Colleton's way of coaching this team. And then they fired him for Derek King, but they went on a little bit of a win streak and continued a win-loss, and now a 5-game losing streak. It's been rough for the Hawks. So let's get to the goals of the game, shall we? The Hawks, though, I do have to mention, the PK looked good, and they only had to suffer 2 power plays from the Avalanche. In the first period, it was all Avalanche. As I said, the Hawks gave up 2 penalties. They killed them both. But at 7:43 in the first period, before the first penalty was called, Erik Johnson scores his first of the night, 4th of the season, assisted by Kadri. Then the Hawks get a penalty, power play to the Avalanche. The Hawks killed the penalty, but shortly after, at 13:54 in the first period, Alex Newhook walked himself right in, dangled himself in, and got himself on the board for his 7th of the season for the Colorado Avalanche to make it 2-0 Avalanche. And this goal by Newhook was him just seeing the Hawks on their heels in their defensive zone and letting Newhook walk in and score. So he gets his 7th of the season, and the Hawks are now down by 2. And the Hawks then go right to the penalty kill, where Avalanche have a lethal offense, but they killed it again. And that's good. You saw momentum built from the Hawks, kind of from killing those 2 penalties that they've been having issues with the last, I would say, 10 games. Because killing those 2 power plays, you could see a little bit of a spark from the Hawks. And that was nice to see, but we couldn't prevail to win this game. So we go to the second period, down by 2. And, well, as I said, it was all Chicago Blackhawks. They came out steaming. Whatever Derek King said in the locker room worked, because he must have pulled his best Walter White impression in that locker room to threaten this team to do something. And they did. They came out steaming, angry, and managed to prevail. At 4:47 in the second period, scored by number 19, your captain, Jonathan Toews, assisted by number 58, Mackenzie Whistle, and number 4, Steph Jones, to get the Hawks within 1, and the captain goes to the doorstep and beats Darcy Kemper to get the Hawks on the board to show how the Hawks are moving. They moved the puck well. They got it in off the doorstep. Toews right on it, and he gets it past Kemper. And the Hawks are now on the board, and they continue moving the puck well. They kept generating chances. They couldn't prevail. And after that Toews goal, but we go to this third period where honestly the goals came. And they came in a flurry. Speaking of a flurry, Marc-Andre Fleury tonight, he was outstanding. He made some big saves, highlight reel saves in this first and even in this third period. So we go to this third period down by a goal. And the Hawks, they get a power play early. And that is Nathan MacKinnon laying an elbow on, I believe it was Philip Kurashev, if I'm not mistaken, but if I am, please correct me if I'm wrong. But MacKinnon laid an elbow, it was called for interference, and the Hawks go to the power play. Then, a few minutes after MacKinnon gets sent to the box, another Avalanche player gets sent to the box, and it was Tyson Jost going to the box for delay a game, throwing the puck over the glass. So 5-on-3 hockey for your Chicago Blackhawks. And this is where the Hawks prevailed. And at 2:18 in the third period, scored by number 12, Alex the Cat DeBrincat, his 19th of the season, first of the night, assisted by number 88, Patrick Kane, and number 4, Steph Jones, to get this game all tied up. The Cat goes right into his perfect spot to tie it, and he goes right in that circle, gets a beautiful pass by Kaner, and the Hawks on the 5-on-3 power play prevail. That power play continues as the Tyson Jost has to still serve his time in the box. With a little momentum in the same power play going, the Hawks continue it. 40 seconds later, at 2:58 in the third period, scored by number 12, Alex DeBrincat, his 20th of the season, assisted by number 88, Patrick Kane, and number 17, Dylan Strome. gives the Hawks a 3-2 lead over the Avalanche. That was awesome to see. Could the Hawks hold it? No, unfortunately. As soon as that goal happened, something flipped on the Avalanche. They became more angry and became more resilient to try and tie this thing back up. The Avalanche are a cup favorite, and they managed to show it this game. At 11:44 in the third period, Erik Johnson scores his 5th of the season, 2nd of the night to tie it up. This was assisted by Burakovsky and Kadri to make it a 3-3 game in the third, and it just sucks. The 2 power play goals by the Cat were awesome. Speaking of the Cat, he gets high stick by Bowen Byram, but it was a follow through, and Cat goes to the bench. It leads to the Avalanche taking advantage of it. It could have been a 4-minute power play, but a follow through on a shot doesn't lead to a penalty, so rough one because the Cat was bleeding. Avalanche take advantage. They came up and they score off that same sequence. It's a rough one. So we need overtime. Flower made a couple big saves in that third period. Then Taves almost had a chance in the final second of play to win it, but couldn't get it past Kemper. So we go to the overtime. The Hawks start out with a new overtime unit. I honestly don't want to see it ever again. Kurashev, Doc, and Jones. Doc at the center faceoff, loses the opening faceoff. Avalanche take advantage, coming in and start shooting the puck. Hawks then kill it, that momentum swing, and Taves comes out, wins the faceoff, goes up the ice, and the Hawks had a couple opportunities, and Kane goes on a break, couldn't get it past. Then Taves comes back out onto the ice, nearly wins the game, but rings the post, and it goes out, and the Avalanche comes back up the ice after a face-off with Doc coming back out with Kurashev. Avalanche wins the face-off in their defensive zone, take it all the way up, and Cale Makar at 2:38 in the overtime. Spinorama on on Kirby Doc, beats Doc, goes in, backhand, forehand, backhand on Marc-Andre Fleury for his 14th of the season to win it in overtime for the Avalanche. It's a rough loss in overtime. The Hawks get a point, and it's a well-deserved point by the Hawks this time, but it just sucks to see they couldn't prevail and get the 2 points tonight. This was a rough loss to watch. They played well, they came back, battled hard against a very tough opponent in the Avalanche. So hopefully next game, since we play against the Arizona Coyotes, it could be an interesting matchup. The Coyotes do play it with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. They play a good structured game, but they just aren't a good hockey team. So this is going to be a tough one to see what happens going into our next game on Thursday night. So down in the comments down below, I want to hear what your thoughts were for tonight's action. And thank you for watching the broadcast. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And most of all, it's a rough loss by the Hawks, but it's this season. They have not had a good season at all. And let's go Hawks.